Welcome, everybody, to the show tonight under the title Roee Rosen, Kafka for Kids. My name is Marcel Schwerin, and I will guide you through this evening. Originally, Roee wanted to present this evening himself to you, but unfortunately he fell ill, and so I'm here as a surrogate. But he sends greetings, and he's very curious how this evening will go, and as everything is recorded, so he's also gonna see it. The reason why he asked me to introduce this evening is that I'm one of his long-term curators, and I curated in 2016 together with Edith Molnar at the Edith-Russ-Haus in Oldenburg his first German solo survey show. And we also edited his book, Live and Die as Eva Braun and Other Intimate Stories, which is also in the exhibition at IMPAKT right now. And this exhibition is still on display until the 26th of May, so if you haven't seen it, please check it out. Roee Rosen was born in 1963 and is an Israeli-American painter, filmmaker, and writer. He studied philosophy, comparative literature, and visual arts both in Tel Aviv and New York. And he also lives in Tel Aviv, and he's professor at the Had Midrasha Art College in Israel and teaches at the Bezalel Art Academy in Jerusalem. And one of his most recent solo shows was at the Centre Georges Pompidou in Paris. And several of his works were shown at the last Documenta, both in Athens and in Kassel. So what you're going to see tonight are all Dutch premieres. They were only shown twice before, once in Graz as the Steirische Herbst, and once in Berlin at the Volksbühne last week. And what is maybe even more important, nobody can ever see this evening like it is today again, because this is a work in progress. The evening consists of the presentation of two different projects. One is titled Hilarious. It's a quite provocative work about dysfunctional humor. Originally, it's a short film from 2008 of 20 minutes, but tonight it will be presented as a live performance starring Hani Furstenberg. And this performance will be the final highlight of the evening. And I have to warn you, you will be also involved in that. But don't worry, nobody will be pulled on stage. You can remain seated and anonymously and act from there. And the first part of the evening is dedicated to Roe's newest project, Kafka for Kids. Kafka for Kids will be Roe's first feature-length film. And like some of you know, he made several short films and middle-length films, also very successful ones, like one won an award at the Venice Film Festival. But making a feature film is always a very different story, because they're completely differently produced than short films. They're usually produced by the film industry, and that means more money, more people, more time, more organization, and which is the most important, a lot of people have a say in the final artistic outcome. So as I'm coming from film myself, we sat together on the occasion of the book launch at the Documenta and discussed how can he make a film as an artist in a way that his very specific aesthetic needs are still realized there. And back then we didn't come to a proper solution, and I was very thrilled to hear that Roee started performance nights like this. So he found his very own way to produce a film in showing bits and pieces, and then of course change them after a while, so that it's really original way of making a long-term project. But what is already ready and there is the finalized script. And most of you who know Roee know him mostly probably as painter or filmmaker, but he's also an author, both of fictional and theoretical writing. And these writings are highly worth to read. For example, I fully understood Hilarious, the work we're going to see tonight, only after reading the script, because the outstanding performance of Hani Furstenberg was overshadowing all these little details in the text, which are so carefully composed. And again, the script of Kafka for Kids is a very beautiful text on its own right, and I'm sure it will be published after the film is finished. So what you're going to see from Kafka for Kids tonight are 4 videos. 3 of them are children's songs, and 1 is a lecture, again performed by Hani Furstenberg. So you will see her first virtually, and then live on stage. But before we start with the first song, I would like to say a few words about Roe's motivation to make this project. He pointed himself out several reasons why he wanted to make Kafka for kids. So what you see here are sketches for the film. First, Kafka is for Roee what he calls his last holy cow. So of course, following the logic of Roe's oeuvre, this holy cow has yet to be slaughtered. Second, it's practically impossible to visualize Kafka in an adequate way. I don't know how it's with you, but I personally hated every visualization of his work. And I refused to watch any of the feature films that were produced, even if they were produced by directors like Orson Welles or Steven Soderbergh, who I adore. So visualizing Kafka in itself is already a way to violate his oeuvre and to slaughter the holy cow. And of course, the idea of Kafka for kids, or Roee sometimes also call it Kafka for toddlers, is a serious contradiction in itself. Kafka is one of the very few authors that give me such a physical discomfort while reading it that I sometimes ends up with stomach pain as an adult. So how is about to give this pleasure to kids? But of course, the kids in Kafka for Kids is a fake. This film was never meant for toddlers or for kids, and it probably will be rated 18 plus when it's finished. But nonetheless, Roee sees indeed a playful, even joyful, and an ecstatic aspect in Kafka's oeuvre that will be also addressed tonight. And maybe one last aspect of his motivation to be mentioned here. Like you all know, Kafka was not only a writer, but also a doctor of law. And he worked as a clerk for an insurance company. And he was a very good clerk. He was an innovative one, making people's lives better with innovations. And innovation in law is another aspect that also will be perverted tonight. The final film as such will be a musical, and at the same time the pilot of a television series. In every episode, the parent will read a different story of Kafka to the child. And the story of the pilot, of course, is Kafka's most famous story, Die Verwandlung, the Metamorphosis. The setting of the film is a children's playhouse with a storyteller, the voices of father and mother, a child figure played by Hani, a choir, and a cast of animated furniture, for example, Mr. Table, Mrs. Lamp, Mr. Left Pillow, Mrs. Right Pillow. Those of you who are familiar with Roe's work know how important the idea of the animation in his oeuvre is. Animation as a conjunction between the realm of the living and the realm of the dead objects. And the dead objects are coming to life, which is in fact the original meaning of the term animation. And as we are talking of TV, there will be also kind of advertisement for kids stuff, cigarettes, for example. And there are other figures, like the bearer of bad news, who is indeed just delivering bad news. I just want to give you a brief sample how the different characters interact. The bearer of bad news tries to stop the whole film production because Kafka never wanted any visualization of the insect, which in fact is true, he didn't allow it. But like you see in the sketches, here on screen there will be a lot of images of the vermin in the final film. So the whole set sinks into chaos and panic. Luckily, Kafka left his shoe on the set. And as we are in animation, the shoe gets to life. And as we are in a musical, the shoe also gets his own song. And the lyrics go like this. Kafka's shoe, when trouble comes, it's tried and true. Kafka's shoe, it is a friend to me and you. Kafka's shoe, you cunning Jew, tell us quickly what to do. As we are in a children's film, of course, the shoe decides finally that the show can go on. Another central element of the film is an orchestra that Roee founded with his long-term composer, Igor Krutogolov, the Igor Krutalov's Toy Orchestra. And the 3 songs that will be screened tonight are all recorded in Graz during the live performance, and then some subtitles and then some montage was edited. The songs will also appear in the final film, but shoot it in a different way. And from this orchestra, we will now see and hear the first song, The Merry Vermin. In the line of the story, this is the moment when Gregor Samsa discovers that it also has its advantages to be an insect, and he loves to run up and down the walls and the ceiling. But his sister, his very beloved sister, who is taking care of him, is extremely disgusted by it. This song is 4.5 minutes long. Enjoy. The images you now see on screen here represent the mysterious lady with fur that Kafka describes on the first page of the Metamorphosis. They are paintings with oil on wood by Roee. And the next song we are going to see is set in one of the most horrific moments of the story, when Gregor Samsa tries to leave the room and his father tries to push him back by throwing apples on him, and one of them gets stuck in Gregor's back and then even later starts to rotten there. So the song is called Apples and is 2.5 minutes long. Enjoy.
Let's jam again later.
The story behind the next two videos is a real case. While Roee was working on the script, there was a 12-year-old Palestinian girl that was caught with a knife at the gate of a settlement in the occupied Palestinian territories. The girl was sentenced to prison for 4.5 months. And, what is quite important, it was an adult prison. And this leads to the question, what is a child in legal terms? And here more specific, what is a child for the Israeli military law? Roee also had a personal relation to this case, as one of his children was in the same year exactly also 12 years old. So the final song of the Toy Orchestra tonight is called What is a Child? And is about 6 minutes long. Enjoy.
child, the smell is sweet and clean. Perhaps one day she'll practice law and play the violin. What is a child? What is a child? It's really hard to tell. A child is ever growing, but only for a spell. What is a child? What is a child? What is a child? Till when a child, till when a child, 7, 12, 14. When will it flee from plant and pink to wrinkled aubergine? A child is happy promises, a future spread ahead, a treasure box inside of which lies someone old than dead.
The next video takes up the idea of the innovation in the law and turns it into something really awkward. Explaining the Law to Kwame is a juridical lecture on the question of childhood in the occupied Palestinian territories, performed by Hani Furstenberg. The film is a short film on its own right, but will be later in Kafka for Kids, the final chapter of the feature. And it's 23 minutes long. Enjoy. So we are leaving the project Kafka for Kids, and we are coming to Hilarious, the final highlight of the evening. And we will try something a bit weird, because like I already mentioned, Hilarious is originally a film that will be performed live tonight by Hani Furstenberg, with Monique Weinswijk on the drums. So in a certain way, this is the reverse method of Kafka for Kids. In Kafka for Kids, Roee is showing performative elements that will become part of the film. Hilarious is already a finalized film that turns into a live performance. In the film Hilarious, the setting is a stand-up comedy in the format of a late-night television show. And as you probably know, in these television shows, the reactions of the audience are usually planned and directed. So the reactions of the audience, the directed reactions, were part of the film. And there the tonight audience, comes into place. So what is going to happen is that while Hani is performing, you will see prompter instructions appearing on the screen for you, up there, very big. They will tell you when to applaud, when to giggle, when to laugh, and so on. And this is especially necessary here. This is a piece about dysfunctional humor. So you will be asked to laugh when there is really nothing funny to laugh about. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to the funniest woman in the business. She works hard for the money and she's got lots and lots of it. She has the newest gadgets and a great body. Here she is, the lady who puts really and really hilarious. Give it up for Roee Rosen!
Oh, Utrecht, it's great to be here. Even though I had to see the doctor today, again. The doctor. The doctor. The doctor? Can you guess the name of my doctor? Close. His name was Dr. Schwartz. How about that, Schwartz? I'd say chances are he's Jewish, don't you think? A Jewish doctor. How about that? Jewish doctor. A Jewish doctor. I'm not saying that all doctors are Jewish. I'm not racist, God forbid. God forbid. Oi. There are Italian doctors, German doctors, Swedish doctors. Oh, hello. Swedish women doctors. Arab doctors. I mean, what did I say? There are Arab doctors. What's wrong with you? You don't read the news? You don't like sex? Arab doctors! Talking about doctors and sex. Did you hear the one about the guy who goes to the doctor to get his CRI results? And the doctor tells him, I have good news and I have bad news. Which would you like to hear first? So the guy says, the bad news. So the doctor tells him, you only have 3 months to live. Talking about doctors and death. Here's a classic. A man is being led to the scaffold and cries out all of a sudden, it's Monday, I'm going to die. That's a classic because it's both funny and true. We are all going to die. We are all going to die. Thank you. Talking about the news, I read today, this is September 16th, 2008, yes? Tuesday, right? Anyhow, I read today that Wall Street is collapsing. Lehman Brothers bankrupt. Merrill Lynch sold. AIG. In fact, listen to this. This is too funny. They're calling it the worst crisis since 1929. But the question is, how funny is money? Is money as funny as anal sex? Oh, I like that joke about the Belgian bartender. Oh, he had this voluptuous underage daughter. And one day, this rich arms dealer walks into the bar, and he says to him, if I give you some money and promise not to kill you, would you let me make love to your daughter? So the bartender asks, you want the short answer or the long answer? So the Nazi says, the short answer bitte. So the Jew says, yes. Oh, and how about Barack Obama? Schwarz! That's funny because Schwarz means black in German. Seriously, folks, certain things are not always funny. They're topical, so they're only funny when fresh. Like that Obama joke you liked so much. I mean, yeah, it's a good one. But if the guy's not elected, how funny is it going to be then? Huh. And certain things are just not funny. I mean, even I know that. It's improper conduct, for instance, to compare the Israeli occupation to the Nazis. That's just plain wrong. Plain wrong. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, you may not like the occupation, but hey, the Nazis were much, much worse. So you better avoid that. Simply saying the words Nazism and Israel in the same sentence is already obscene. It's not even funny. Nazism and the Israeli occupation. The Israeli occupation is much better than the Nazis. Talking about the occupation, you've probably forgotten by now, but there was this footage of an Israeli brigade commander holding a bound Palestinian who was protesting against the wall, while another soldier shot him from point-blank range, smack, right in the foot. Ouch. I mean, I could go on all night talking about Viagra. Anyhow, can you guess what the name of that Israeli soldier was? Who said that? Wherever you are? No, ma'am. Good guess, though. His name was Burberg. Burberg. Oh, man, it doesn't get any better than this. Schwartz! Burberg! The chief military prosecutor decided that the right charge in this case of shooting a bound man was nothing like torture or assault, but rather improper conduct. And now, can you guess the prosecutor's name? I'll give you a hint. It isn't Schwartz. His name is Mendelblit. Arab doctors! Mendelblit! Schwartz! Burberg! Polanski! Talking about the occupation, one day my ex-wife met my wife. She says to her, "What do you have that I don't have?" So my wife said, "See these? See this? Mendelblit." Polanski! 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 How about that Bill Gates? I mean, what's the deal? Is he gay or what? I read a rumor that he's related to Stephen Hawking. Have you ever noticed the way anchor women, when the news is sad and the weather report, I mean, what's the deal? I have this really obese friend, 3 times a day. Talking about the weather. Oh, here's a good one. Jewish doctor, of course, a Wall Street wasp millionaire, and a gorgeous pregnant Swedish woman were all sitting together on one of the on the 95th floor of one of the Twin Towers, just as it was about to collapse. Theirs was the second tower to be hit, so they've already witnessed the horror of the first collision, and then, bam, they were hit. And the flames are spreading fast, real fast. It's hard to breathe. People are jumping from the floors above them. I mean, flames and smoke and havoc all around. Apocalypse now. The towering inferno. Armageddon. When Harry met Sally. I mean, 9/11. And they know they're going to die. There's no hope. The Jewish doctor wailing in this thick Brooklyn accent, making big Jewish flaps. And oh, the wasp, all red in the face, urinating in his Armani wool trousers. But even in that state, he's still very handsome and has this superior air. And the young, ravishing, blonde mother-to-be. I mean, it is heartbreaking because Swedes are practically superhuman. And this particular Swede is outstanding even by Swedish standards. She's like a super Swede, which makes the tragedy even more moving. She will die a terrible, futile death, and she will not be a mother after all. And she's holding fast to her belly. 8 months pregnant, she's clinging to her belly as if it's gonna fall. When all of a sudden, the smoke lifts in front of their shattered window, and out of the blue appears in midair a magic goldfish. Unbelievable. A magic goldfish. I mean, what did it jump up all the way from the Hudson? The East River, perhaps? Or maybe it came from one of those spectacular aquariums investment bankers stare at as they eat raw fish. Those same aquariums that are now falling from way up high at sickening speed, along with office equipment and burning debris. At any rate, it is a miraculous thing, that flying fish. Fins quivering like dragonfly wings. And then the fish opens its mouth and speaks to them in perfect English, with only the slightest foreign accent. "Hello, good people," the goldfish says. "We haven't much time. I'm afraid I cannot save your lives. That's the bad news. The good news is I can grant each of you one last wish." The stunned threesome stare at the fish. And when the Jewish doctor realizes that the fish eyes him in expectation, he says, "My last wish is this. I would like to have one last delicious gefilte fish meal just like my mother used to make." And lo and behold, out of thin air appears a huge dish with a dozen or so gigantic gefilte fish, all drenched in that tasteless, quivering, fatty jelly, old-school Eastern European Jews relish, along with a colossal slab of horseradish and 5 soft slices of sweet challah bread glazed with yolk, sugar, and sesame, for that's how the Ostjuden likes his gefilte. Now, as you know, gefilte fish are minced and stuffed dead fish. So there is a tinge of improper conduct with the magic fish supplying Rosen, the slimy Jewish gynecologist, with his shredded brethren. But this we should remember. The Twin Towers are about to collapse. This is no time for petty etiquette, and that was the kike's last request. And besides, gefilte fish are made out of carps, which really are quite remote in terms of kinship to a magic fish. Anyhow, anyway, at any rate, to make a long story short, the Jew gulps and gobbles his gefilte. He's stuffing it in his mouth in big lumps, barely masticating it all, howling and sniveling all the while, because even as the fish does taste divine, he is going to die. And then the fish turns to the tall New England billionaire and asks, "What is your last wish, Mr. Hurt?" Because that's his name. William Kirk Hurt III. And that sobbing patron of the Metropolitan Museum of Art says, I can't get it out of my head. My summer house in Connecticut, which I just began to renovate and had such high hopes for the luxurious yet blasé time I'll spend there. I wish to see the renovations complete before I die. And then something stunning happens. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not that planes crashing into the Twins was not a stunning affair. It certainly was. It was a huge terrorist attack. It was a colossal tragedy. But what happens next is supernatural, so it's even more impressive. A huge plasma TV screen appears in the sky, right behind the flying fish. And on the screen appears an enormous mansion. I mean, each room is big as a theater. And the rooms are all filled with fantastic gadgets and furniture and masterpieces ransacked from all across the world, just like at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The house is too big for us to get a full tour, but just to get a taste, the camera enters one of the bedrooms, and we can see a bed with a canopy as big as a circus tent. And next to it, we can see a Damien Hirst shark floating in formaldehyde. But this dead shark is 3 times as big as the dead shark Saatchi got. This is definitely the ultimate Damien Hirst shark. I mean, a big, big money. And next to it, kneeling on the floor, Bianca Jagger and Mark Jacobs cling fast to each other, awestruck, dumbfounded, speechless, dwarfed, humbled, green with uncontrollable envy. Finally, the camera roams over to one of the windows as if to assure us that each room is a room with a view. And we can observe the mandatory artificial lake, but this lake is 6-7 times bigger than the neighbor's lake. And in it calmly swim lots and lots of goldfish. And that sight of that consummate piece of real estate, good living and refined taste, are so glorious that even Rosen quits stuffing his gorge. The Jew's jaw drops, and down his shirt cascade chunks of rather off-putting grayish gefilte mush. William Kirk Hurt III is now crying profusely. He's oinking like a slaughtered pig. You can't tell whether he's crying out of happiness from the cost-effective yet resplendent renovation, or because he'll never actually have the pleasure of enjoying that house. And so, finally, the fish turns to the pregnant Swedish slut and says, "What is your last wish, my dear?" And the Swede looks back at him with her big, beautiful blue eyes and says, I'm going to die. My unborn child will never see the light of day. I don't want anything. I don't think I want anything because me and my child are going to die. Fuck, sorry. Fuck. That's not just a good joke. It's a great joke. Because it's both funny and true. We are all going to die. We are all going to die. I have cancer. Thank you. Thank you, Utrecht. Bye-bye.
This was hilarious. And in the name of Roee, I would like to thank a few people. First, you for joining us tonight and being such an engaged audience. Then I would like to thank the institutions IMPAKT and Spring who invited them. And there especially Arjon Dunnewind and Lara Stolberg for the team of IMPAKT, and Rainer Hoffmann, Emma von Tol, and Lotte Hartstraat for the team of Spring. I would like to thank the technical team of the Stadskroburg. Sorry. I would like to thank Maxim Lomberg, the long-term editor of Roee, who's sitting back there, and he made all the image presentations tonight. Monique Bernswijk here on the drums, and of course the amazing Hani Furstenberg. Okay.